This episode is brought to you by Wanda C. Williams. Aloha, Wanda here. Thank you so much for listening to this episode of Soul Speak. Enjoy. Too many mamas feel alone, isolated, or are suffering in silence. They exert so much energy in being everything and everyone for their family. Frequently neglecting their own needs, dreams, and desires, they put taking care of themselves last on the to-do list. They can often be their own worst critic and have the scars of perfectionism, doubt, and shame to prove it. Without the support and someone helping them navigate the highs and lows of motherhood while building a business, judgment starts to creep in. Self-expectations distort, and you stop filling yourself up and instead give and do more. Motherhood and building a thriving business is a dream and goal for many. Whether you birth children of your own, adopt, or are naturally nurturing those within your community. Mama entrepreneurs who are supported and held accountable experience more joy and enjoy the fruits of motherhood while building the business of their dreams. They have control of their experiences, and they are so full, they are overflowing with enough to give. Since starting Wanda C. Williams, I have made it my mission to help mama entrepreneurs have a fully aligned business and life overflowing with radiant, abundant joy. And that is why I've created the Joyful Sage Club. The Joyful Sage Club is dedicated to help you conquer the emotional roller coaster of parenting teen to adult children while building a business. Help avoid the common mistakes, stop being what others expect you to be, and help you connect with your inner being and higher self. Taking the words of the late beautiful soul Maya Angelou, I want to be proud when I see you coming. I wish for you to be so full you are overflowing. Hello, hello, aloha everyone. Welcome to another episode of Soul Speak, and I have another amazing, wonderful guest, and I'm going to let her introduce herself. Tell us your name, where you're from, how many kids you have, and if you were to pick one of Snow White's 7 dwarfs to best describe you, who would it be? Would it be bashful, Doc, dopey, grumpy, happy, sleepy, or sneezy?
My name is Stephanie Coleman. I'm from Montclair, New Jersey. I have 2 children, Anthony and David. Anthony's birthday's tomorrow. He'll be 31 years old.
Woo! Happy birthday.
David is 28. And if I had to choose which 7 dwarf it would be Doc.
Doc. Oh, I am so intrigued. Tell me more. Why would it be Doc?
It would be Doc because in my early years, pre-children, or right after I had children, because I had them early, I was a pre-med student. And I wound up changing my major because we got to work in our field. And I was saddened that I couldn't help the people that was sick. And one of the places that we went was the nursery. And the children were sick, and technology wasn't the same as it is today. So I felt like I couldn't do that every day.
Okay.
I would be sad.
All right. So Doc is the dwarf that you would be. All right. So Stephanie, tell me, what is your greatest mama superpower?
My greatest mama superpower is knowing what my children are thinking or feeling without them telling me.
Okay.
Just by their actions.
Okay.
Because they're boys, they tend not to share as much.
Okay.
But my children are out of the house, so they call me every week, but they don't call me every day. So if they call me or text me, I know they want something.
Okay.
So it's usually like, what do you need or what do you want? I reach out to them every day. We do like a check-in text because they don't live with me. But just knowing that when they call me, they want something.
Okay.
Usually I can tell what they want.
Okay.
They think I'm a witch.
So a little intuition, a little clairvoyance, a little of understanding each son.
Yes, and they're very different.
Okay, awesome. I like it. I think I might steal that superpower. And so I would love for you to share with us a little bit of what your life was like before having your sons, and then describe what it was like raising them and, you know, all that good stuff. And then what was it like when they left?
Well, because I got married young, I got married when I was 22.
Okay.
So I had them early because I had my son the first year, during that first year that we got married, my first son. And then my second son was born 3 years later. So before that, I was like a nerd. I was reading, I was in college. I was the first person in my family to graduate from a 4-year college. So my nose was always in a book. So you would say I was the nerdy one. My sister was the partier.
Okay. Okay.
Um, After I had my children, I was very involved. Both my husband and I were very involved in what they were doing, their lives. I was on the PTA. I was the football mom. I was everything. I even was the den mother
Mm.
for my son's Boy Scout troop, because at the meeting, I think they're tigers in the kindergarten or first grade, and he started crying and said nobody wants to be our den leader, because it was a meeting with all the parents and they told you everything you had to do. So he was like, I'm never going to be like Aunt. That was my oldest son, because my oldest son, he was in the troop already. And so I volunteered, of course, and I wound up doing it he went all the way through. So
Wow.
I wound up doing it for like 7 years, 6 years.
Wow. That's amazing.
Campfires, sleeping on the ground.
Did you have to build a fire or light or start a fire?
We had to start fires. We had to sleep in tents. We slept in those lean-tos also. But my my husband agreed that he would go with my older son, and then because they had different activities, and then when I got roped into being the den mother, I was the one who made the activities.
Roped
So
in,
we had
huh?
a lot of, yes, because all the parents were sitting around, and everybody looked down when she said who was going to be the den person, and
Oh.
everybody went, "Hoo, hoo, hoo." And then my son started crying. He's like, "I'm never going to be a Boy Scout like Aunt," and I was like, "I'll do it."
Oh, how wonderful. And then
Yeah,
he went all the way through 7 years. That's amazing.
they both did.
Wow.
They both did.
So then what was it like as they started to get older and started to, you know, slowly leave the nest?
Well, I always raised them to be independent. My husband had a hard time with it because he wanted them to be babies and buddies, and he
Mm,
worked a lot. So even as they were growing up, like when they got to high school, they didn't want to go further with the Boy Scouts, even though they were very successful and they were very involved. But football came into play,
okay.
and they were both stars and they were very good. So that consumed a lot of their time. They had practice every day. They had games on Saturdays, and sometimes they were away. So
Yeah.
that took up a lot of time. And during the week, my husband wasn't really available because he worked in New York. So I was the one that practiced with them, or when I was getting my master's degree, I was the one sleeping in my car while they was at practice or reading a book, or doing something, because he wasn't available until later. So he kind of was like holding on to them, and I was
Mm.
like, no, I'm gonna teach you how to wash clothes. I'm gonna teach you how to cook. You have to be self sufficient. I'm not always gonna be here, and he hated that, me saying that. And then as they got older, like we were close. They weren't like party animals or would go out and hang out. My youngest son, he had his little period of hanging out, but he was afraid that I was gonna know or find out. So he
Mm.
never really did anything.
Mm-hmm.
And then my oldest son went away to school, and then he came back home, and he kept telling me he was sick. after winter break, and I realized he didn't want to go back.
Oh.
So I kind of gave him an out. I told him he had to finish this semester
Mm-hmm.
because you don't just quit, but then you could come home, because I knew that something was going on. And then he finally told me that the school was too ghetto for him.
Oh, okay.
Yes. And then I realized I raised a bougie kid. And I was like, ghetto, are you kidding me? But, you know, he came home, he thrived, he got accepted into as a paralegal at Legal Aid in New York.
Okay.
Before he graduated, one of his professors recommended him.
Wow. That's
Yeah.
amazing. Okay.
So,
So that sounded like that was sort of easy, a little bit of him leaving. How was it with?
yeah, he was ready.
Okay.
Like, I was ready. I was excited. I think I cried more when he went to football camp, like overnight, to
Oh,
stay
yeah.
for 2 weeks when he was coming back home than when he went to college.
Okay. And so
Um,
what was it like with the younger one?
for the younger one, it was a little more emotional because I was in the process of leaving my husband, coming back to we had two houses. So I left them at one house, and then I came back to this house. So I waited until he was ready to go to school. So he wasn't really around, like it wouldn't affect him per se.
Mm-hmm.
He was, he would be out of the house. The it affected me because I was alone,
Mm.
and I left the dogs there too.
Uh-oh.
And like I always had pets, like
Yes, I know
birds,
how much you love
turtles.
dogs.
Yeah, so I always had, but I left them there because I didn't want their life to change.
Okay.
Although my life was changing, but after I've been here 2 months, I went and got another dog, and then I wound up going back to get the other one because the kids left.
Mm-hmm.
My oldest son got his own apartment, and then my other son, every time he came home, he came to my house.
Okay.
And he was like, "Daddy don't have cable. Daddy don't have food."
Oh yeah, gotta go home to mama.
So he came to my, he always came here, and he just wind up staying. Like when he got out of, when he graduated from college, I went for his graduation. I rented a hotel room, and I drove down there, and then we drove back together. Because when he was at college, he didn't have a car.
Okay.
He didn't get a car until he came home,
All
and
right.
then he stayed here 2 years, and then he moved out.
And so do they live close?
My
Or
one son lives one street over. That's the one that think he my father.
okay.
And the other one, he lives in Newark, which is about maybe 8 or 9 miles away.
Okay. That's not
But
too bad.
he's getting ready to go to New York
Mm.
to be a football coach
Wow.
for college in New Berlin, New York,
Okay.
which is about three and a half. It's about almost 200 miles away.
Okay. So that is definitely further away. So would you say at any point you struggled with emptiness syndrome?
I think the first night I was here in the house by myself, like the
Mm-hmm.
first couple of days, but they came back for dinner. So it was kind of weird. I talked to them. I told them I was moving out.
Yeah.
They helped me move. And if you know me, I'm the type of person that as the boxes came in, I unpacked them. So that night, my whole house was unpacked and
Wow.
everything was in its place. I didn't have any living room furniture, but like my bedroom was done, the bathroom was done. My son had said, "What's going to happen to me?" And I said, "You will just have two rooms, one in my house and one in Daddy's house." So his room was set up, and I think he stayed with me that night. But they wound up asking me, was I going to cook? So I cooked. So they never kind of really left per se.
Gotcha.
But when he went back to school, that's when I guess I felt it, because they weren't coming every day.
Okay. You also mentioned, which I find interesting, because not a lot, I don't hear a lot of dads that struggle with emptiness. And you mentioned your now ex-husband sort of
Oh,
struggled with them growing up.
he's still
So
now.
he still struggles now.
Yes, he calls me. We're very good friends. We just couldn't live together. But I gotta plug in my phone. So he calls every few days, because he always says the kids don't answer his call.
Mm,
Sort of a nag.
okay. So
So
he's still struggling with the fact that they're grown up.
yeah,
All right. Well,
he'll tell them that they got to get a haircut. And I'm like, Anthony is 30. He'll be 31 tomorrow, and I have to tell him to get a haircut. And he'd be like, the boy need a haircut. Okay. They don't answer my call. That's what he always say.
okay.
And you wonder why.
Yeah. So I'm curious, Stephanie, what did you want to be when you grew up as a little kid?
What I am today.
And
A teacher.
A teacher. All right.
Yep.
Awesome.
Second grade, I told my grandmother and my mother that I was going to be a teacher. And when I got older, the medical field fascinated me. So I did want to, I was pre-med, straight A's, was in the groove of things. And as soon as I went, the professor at the time said he wanted people to talk about their experience in our talks. And he said, could you see yourself doing that every day for the rest of your life? And I said, no. Because of the helplessness. So I did a whole bunch of things in between that, but I wound up, I worked for a headhunter, and I was really good at the computer, because that's when technology was first coming out. And I went to a school, but I wound up tutoring the other students, because I picked it up right away.
Yeah.
And I just got into it and was doing databases and data and doing all kind of stuff. And then I said, this is kind of boring, because I don't see people. And then I said, even though I say I don't really like people, when I grew up I was shy. I didn't want to talk. And I'm feeling some of that now, because I don't like pictures. I don't like to be recorded. I don't like people looking at me. But lately I've been coming more and more out of my shell. Yeah. And I went into teaching, and my kids always say, oh my God, how could you teach? You can't beat those kids. Because, they're very disrespectful, but I kind of kill them with kindness. I don't raise my voice, and that might scare them, because they're used to people raising their voice.
Yeah, that's for sure. I did know when my mom's voice went quiet or low, something was up.
Right. Duck, right?
Like, oh, okay, I gotta stop and behave. Yeah, for sure. So did you always want to be a mom?
No, I actually never thought I was going to get married. I always thought that I actually just told somebody this today. I thought I was going to be a nun.
Really? A nun with your
Yep.
nose in a book?
I used to sit in church and say, oh my God, God has a higher power for me. Like something, like I always felt like I wanted to cry, not a bad cry.
Yeah.
But this just overwhelming feeling that there was something that I should be doing. And I used to think that that's what God wanted me to do, to be a nun. But I guess that feeling or that thought went away. And now that I'm teaching, he's changing I'm teaching, but in a different way.
Okay.
I'm teaching more social emotional than like a subject.
Okay. And so do you find that it's fulfilling you in that way, not where you want to cry, right, like in a bad cry, but in a way that it is filling you up, in the sense that, oh, this is what I was being called to do?
Yes. Yep.
Yeah, I can see it.
Because even with the coaching thing, when I took the coaching,
Mm-hmm.
it wasn't about, um, I realized I do that anyway with people. It just taking the course put it in more perspective. It made me see it a little bit better. But it's not so much adults, but it's the children.
Okay. Okay. So your heart is with the children. So I'm curious if there were times when you were raising the boys and going to school and taking care of everything, sleeping in the car, being den mother, going to all the games, doing all the things, right? Were there any times where you had challenges, the balancing, taking care of them with, pursuing your goals and dreams, whether it was professional or personal?
No. And let me say no because I'm organized.
Okay.
I write everything down. Like I need to see it.
Okay.
I do keep it on my phone, but I also need to see it in a planner. I write everything down. I'm organized, and I wouldn't even say it was a challenge because I had an answer. I'm a quick thinker.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I had to learn how to not react all the time and stop and think. What I teach some of the behavioral children that I deal with, to
Mm-hmm.
stop before you and think before you react, because I'm responsive. So like my son fell and he was like, "Oh, I don't want to play no more," and I was like, "The hell you say? I've been out here every day in practice. You gonna suck it up? Like, there's nothing wrong with you. You just got the wind knocked out of you. Like, get
Right.
back out there."
Okay.
And my husband was like, "What if he broke something?" And I'm like, "I'ma break something." Like he was that type.
Okay.
And I was like, "I don't know if he broke something. He not limping. He would
Mm.
go back out there." Um, the only challenge though was that, like, I was so quick to respond. But when I was getting my second master's degree, my kids were at the age where they started bickering and fighting with each other. And um, it was before we bought our house. So they had to share a room. And I heard them in there arguing about the TV. Like my husband always wanted to buy, they shared a room, but he wanted to buy two TVs, two games, like two everything. And I was like,
Oh.
no,
Mm-hmm.
no, not until they had their own room. Like, why do they need two TVs in the same room? And
Mm.
we have a TV in the living room. Like, hello.
Mm-hmm.
So I said, no, they have to learn to share and get along. And they were in there arguing, and they came to me and they said, Anthony won't, my youngest son, Anthony won't let me watch whatever. And I want to watch this and he want to watch that. So I said, well, I'm not going to decide for you, because what am I going to do? I'm going to take the TV and nobody gets to watch it. So I'm going to take myself out of the equation and you guys work it out.
Mm.
So I didn't, same thing. They went in there and they worked it out. They made up a little schedule. It was so cute. But they made up a schedule. One of them watched the TV this hour, one of them watched TV the other hour, and
Oh,
then
how
said, well,
nice.
what if my show comes on at such a time? Can I watch it? Like, they worked it out. But I used to wear a red hat. I had a red baseball cap. And I told them, when I'm wearing the red cap, I'm in school. I'm invisible. You can't bother me. So sometimes when they argue, I would just put on the red hat. And I remember my son coming to the door and said, "Aunt, mommy got that hat on again. She invisible."
Oh my
We
God,
got
I love
we
it.
got to work it out.
I'm gonna have to go find myself a red hat.
Yep. And I said,
Granted,
when I had this hat on, you can't talk to me. And that's how I got through my second master's degree,
Okay. All right.
because
So
they
you're
were.
very organized. You
Mhm.
empowered your kids to make choices, to learn to get along. And then you had the red hat of invisibility. I would add that to your superpower.
My red hat.
Yeah.
That was like my cape, right?
Yes, absolutely. So I would love to know of, looking back on your life experiences and adventures, who would you say you are today and what keeps you connected to your sense of self?
Um, Who would I say I am? Well, I'm Wonder Woman.
Yes.
And I'm going to show you. Behind me, I made this. This is a refrigerator box. I don't know if you can see it, but I have Wonder Woman there.
All right.
You see it?
Oh, I do. Ooh, I like it.
Uh-huh. And then my yoga. You see
Okay.
it?
Yes, I do.
Because I did become a certified yoga instructor when I was doing all this stuff. But what keeps me grounded is that I do, because I'm a night owl and I'm an early person, I take time for me. I say my prayers in the morning. I say my prayers at night to show my gratitude, my thanks.
Mm-hmm.
And I get my nails done every 2 weeks, like clockwork. I do my own hair, but I do like take care of myself. Like it doesn't seem like it to the outside world because I'm always running. I'm always doing something for somebody else. But like now, I'm in my room. I like to create and craft things. So that's my like downtime. I listen to books on tape.
Okay.
In the car. I don't like when people ride with me because I can't listen to my book on tape or they ask questions and I'm like, shut up.
So you take care of yourself. You have all these habits, rituals, practices that fuel you and nourish you so that
Yep.
you can be Superwoman. I love
Yep.
it. I love it. So what do you do when you start to notice, say, your cape is falling off, or that you're a little misaligned with, feeling fully empowered as yourself?
It doesn't happen often, I will say that. But as of late, I've been working nine to nine.
Wow.
And I think after 3 days of that, because I filled in for a friend, I went to work. We weren't back at work. I volunteered. I left there and went and covered for a friend. And I got home at 9 o'clock.
Wow.
And after 3 days of that, I was tired. And what I did was I recognized it. I owned it. And I got in the bed.
All right.
Because normally I do not get in the bed before 12, 1 o'clock. And I'm up at 5:30. But I owned it and I said, because I'm always looking at the clock. Oh, I got time. Oh, I got time. I got time. I can get something else done. And that night when I got in the house, I said, you know what? I'm not going to do that presentation until tomorrow because I'm no good to myself right now. And that's what I did. I got in the bed. It was like 9:30.
All right. I think that's so powerful, right? Recognizing
Yeah.
it, owning it, and then taking action to support yourself. Beautiful. I love it.
Yeah. Because before I wouldn't have did that. I would have just pushed through.
All right. So one of my last questions for you is, what would be your number one life lesson that you would share with a new mom?
I guess don't take everything so seriously, but get to know your child beyond the basic needs of feeding and like once you know your child and you're in tune with that child, everything else they know you too. Because people always say I'm a good teacher because of my dogs. Like I cook for them. I cook their food. I don't give them dog food anymore. Because when they had that scare about cancer and everything, I started cooking their food, and they're very they're trained, like they know my moves, so they're so in tune with me. Like if I get my pocketbook, they know if I'm going out the door or if they know I'm going to bed. Like
Right.
that's how in tune they are with me, and I know when they have to go to the bathroom, even if they're walking away from the door. Because it's the way my one dog walks. And my uncle said, "How do you know that? Like she didn't even
It's your
think she needed to go
superpower.
out." And I said, "Because of the way she's walking." And then he was like, how is she walking? And I was like, look how she's walking. And sure enough, she had to go out.
Okay.
He just said that to me the other day. He said, oh my God.
Wow. That is some serious superpower intuition going on there, connection with
The universe.
everything. Yeah, with the
Yeah.
universe, with everything around you. I love
Yeah.
it. All right.
Because even when I give them food and I say it's all gone, they leave, they walk away. And he's like, oh my God. Because they know they're not getting no more.
You definitely got them trained.
Yeah.
All right. So last question for you, Stephanie. What brings you joy?
A good mystery.
Ooh.
Like a really good whodunit. I
So,
like solving problems.
so would this be something that you watch? Would this be something that you read? Could this just be a general mystery, like, in conversation, or all of the
All
above?
all of the above, but not so much that I watch, because my uncle hates watching movies with me because he said I always figured it out before the end. He hates it. I don't tell him, but he hates the fact that I can figure it out and he can't.
Okay.
So
Okay.
more of my listening or reading.
Okay. So what are some of your favorite mysteries?
Um, I like Lisa Jackson. She writes good movies, but lately I've been listening to true crime
Okay.
and how they recount the stories. And I just like when I was in college, the first time my thesis was serial killers,
Oh
and everybody
my.
thought it was everybody thought it was weird, but it wasn't so much that what they did, it was the why.
Mm,
And I used to get mad when they said, it's the mother, it's the mother, it's the mother fault. But in all actuality, I've come to learn that the mother is the one that is your first contact with nurturing
mm,
normally. So yes, if that um, relationship is not validated in the beginning, then you don't you lose something. So
okay.
like a mom who's depressed or going through postpartum depression, and she's not connecting with that baby may feel shunned or neglected, and it shows up later
Mm,
when you don't have
mm.
that bond.
All
And it's
right.
just, I really, yeah, just it's so detailed. So I go back and I want to know, like they always say, Ted Bundy had a normal childhood. He didn't have a normal childhood. His mother was, that man was not his father. He adopted him, but we don't know what he did to him or how that
Mm,
affected him not having his own dad, his real
okay.
dad.
Right. You do like to peel the onion and go in there and discover the why, the
Yep.
deeper
And
meaning to things.
when I get into these books, I get so engrossed sometimes. I went to the Bermuda when I graduated from college the first time. My mother took me to Bermuda, and I was reading a book. And it was called Ruby, and my aunt was so mad. And she kept saying, "Ruby will be there when you get back. We're gonna get you here." But she was like, "You gonna bring Ruby?" Because I was so into that book. But my kids
Wow.
are the same.
Okay.
My kids are the same.
And I would say that kind of can explain a little bit of how you can get so in tune with people around you, because you
Yep.
leave no detail unnoticed.
Right. Even how somebody talks. I have to give a presentation tomorrow, and I talked about nonverbal cues and verbal cues, and words is only 7%,
Mm,
but people are watching what you don't say. Let's put it that
right.
way.
Right.
And
Exactly.
your tone is only 38%, but all the rest is your nonverbal cues, how
Yeah.
you sit, how you stand, how you look, and people don't realize that because we're doing a lot of virtual teaching now.
Right. Oh, yes, I can only
Yep.
imagine. So fabulous. Thank you so much, Stephanie. There's so many lessons to learn about how we can use our intuition, dig a little deeper to get to know people, and perhaps employ a little secret red invisibility cap from time to time to get some, you know,
Peace.
self-care. Yeah, peace, self-care
Right.
time. I like it. I think I'm gonna tell Joseph I'm going to have an invisible hat.
It doesn't have to be red. I just happen to be a Giants fan.
Ah,
So I
awesome.
had a red hat.
Okay, so mine might have to be blue or green.
Mhm. Yep.
All
As long
right.
as they
Well,
know, if they see that green or blue hat, I'm invisible. Don't talk to me.
I love it. Well, thank you again for being a
Thank
guest.
you.
So speak.
No problem. Anytime for you.
Thank you.